we want to be respectful of the things that we're catching. I'm a fisherman, I'm a hunter.
Of course, you have to be.
For me personally, sharks are supposed to be there, but putting blood and food and fish in the water, you're going to attract sharks.
If you were a shark, he would go.
It was crazy to see that right in front of my face.
Was it a big moray?
Probably like that thick around.
Whoa.
The idea of the traps is that we can target deep water lionfish populations that we can't get to recreationally. If I do get stung, or if anybody gets stung, one thing that you definitely don't want to do is...
You've landed on the science of fishing, where passion meets precision. Before we dive in, we would like to thank Bloody Battery, Sea Mule, and Black Reef Co. for sponsoring this episode.
What's going on, everybody? Mark here with another episode of The Science of Fishing. I'm here with Madalyn, Mussey, and we're talking about Reef. Reef is a great nonprofit that does a lot of great work for us fishermen down here in Florida, and we're going to get all into it. How you doing today?
Great. How would you say?
Hanging in there. It's an early morning. It's good. It's great to be out here and great to be in the studio. So
happy to be here.
Thanks for making the drive.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, used to it. Down there, you come up here a lot, so.
How often do you come up to the Miami area from Key Largo?
Honestly, quite often, probably once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Really? Is it for Reef or just because?
A little bit of both. I'll come up here for education programs, for events and stuff like that, but also for personal stuff.
Okay. I gotcha.
To real places, like I was talking about, Keys is limited and things that we have.
No Trader Joe's down there, right?
Come up here to go to Trader Joe.
Right. And what's your title?
Education and Outreach Program Manager.
Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. So what is that? Long title. So basically what I do is I work for Reefs, which is a nonprofit in Key Largo, but we do work all over the state and all over the world, actually. So what my job is to try and get our science to the public, either through education programs or through events that we hold or participate in other people's events. Or maybe it's doing stuff like this, talking to people about what we do. So I try to organize all that stuff, teach our interns and the other staff how to participate in those things, and then even participate in them myself. So I'm facilitating and organizing programs anywhere from kindergarten to senior citizen. So we say from K to gray. That's what we try to reach, is everybody in between.
There you go. That's pretty awesome. So you're doing that all over the state? Are they making you travel everywhere? Or
well, kind of, sort of. So we'll travel all over South Florida, definitely. So
right.
The Keys, we're based in Key Largo, and then we'll go down to Key West or the Middle Keys sometimes. Lots of stuff in Key Largo, lots of stuff here in Miami that we do. And then, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to Grenada in the Caribbean.
Wow.
Which is to participate in a field survey trip. So I'm going to be going with a group of adults that signed up for the trip. I'm going to help them survey fish in the area, do fish classes every night, point out fish underwater, and that sort of stuff. And in turn, we're all going to collect data about the fish that we're seeing to get more information there. So,
okay.
I get to travel all over the Caribbean and stuff. Hopefully someday I get to go, to the Pacific or something like that. I went to Hawaii a couple summers ago with a group of teenagers to do fish surveys. So, yes.
Wow.
Travel.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't complain about that.
So we were talking a little bit. You're not a scientist by trade, right?
No.
But you do a lot of research.
I do a lot of science and research.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't have to put in all that work in school to do all the fun science stuff. I always like to tell people, especially young people trying to get into the field, or maybe older people who are interested in it, but, didn't study it. There's still a way for you to be involved. I'm involved in it. Even though I'm working in the field and doing all the science, I'm not a scientist by trade. I was really bad at math and science. The only science class in college I took was ichthyology, which is the study of fish, and I failed it. So
Well, go figure.
I'm working for an organization that studies fish.
Okay.
So there's room for everyone in the field. You just have to find your niche,
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the organization you work for, Reef. What does it stand for? And, what does it do? You guys are large. Clearly, as you said, you work worldwide. So I know you guys have like an artificial reef program, right? Or something? No?
It's
Okay.
people confuse us with other organizations because reef is used a lot in
Yeah.
marine conservation field. Because reef, coral reef, there's
Right.
like 10 different organizations just in Key Largo that have reef in their name.
Okay.
So Reefs, our reef stands for Reef Environmental Education Foundation.
See.
Long name, so we just go by reef.
Okay.
A lot easier for people to remember. But what we do is, it can be summed up in the fact that we focus on citizen science, which is involving the public in science and research and data and conservation. So how can we get everyday people who are already going out to the reef, diving, snorkeling, maybe even fishing, how can we get them involved in our conservation? So we do that through a lot of different programs. Our largest running program that has been around the longest is our volunteer fish survey project, which volunteer divers and snorkelers, anybody can participate in this. They go out, they document what fish they see in the ocean, they put it on our database online, really easy to submit, and then that data is publicly accessible. Anybody can look at it. You and I can go look at it, scientists and researchers can go look at it, policymakers can look at it. So it's really useful data. And it's all done by volunteers. It's actually the world's largest marine life database.
Really? That's pretty incredible.
290 some thousand surveys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a specific, species or segment of fish that people really focus on when supplying this data? Or are you guys getting, a gamut from blue marlin to a snapper on the reef?
Yeah, it's anything and everything.
Okay.
We have different survey levels.
Yeah.
So if you're a level 1, we kind of can guess the fish that you're going to survey. Probably the really pretty ones that are easy to remember, like an angelfish. Everybody loves queen angelfish, for example. So those will definitely be on a lot of surveys, and they're going to be higher up on the database. But when we get to our more expert levels, then we're hoping that those people will have a really well-rounded survey. They'll kind of get everything from the pelagic species that are swimming on the outskirts of the reef to, the tiny little species that are hidden on the reef that are only a couple inches long.
Sure.
We kind of want people to survey whatever they can, whatever they're seeing, whatever they can positively identify. Because we don't want you to identify something wrong. So you really want it to be something. If you're not 100% sure, don't mark it down.
Okay.
But yeah, so I always say people are nervous to start sometimes because they think it's some big thing to do, but it's super easy. If you survey one fish, then you can do a survey. If you can identify one species, you can do a survey.
That's all it takes.
Yep, that's all it takes.
Going into that, so we just interviewed someone from the Nature Conservancy, and we were hearing that there was a big disparity between fishermen, at least. I don't know who supplies all your data. Maybe it's divers, maybe it's fishermen, I don't know. But there's a disparity between what fishermen actually catch and what they actually supply as data. Do you see a difference in that as well? Or are you guys getting more accurate? Are you guys having people be more forthcoming to you? Is it maybe because you're a Florida-based organization rather than a national organization per se? I mean, you guys are worldwide, but you guys are more homegrown, local, I can identify with you more than I can with the Nature Conservancy, and I want to help both. But, maybe some people are like, nah.
Yeah, we're like, we always call ourselves a grassroots organization.
Yeah.
Our office building is literally an old house. Like it's the oldest standing building in the Upper Keys, actually. Used to be home to a pineapple farmer.
No way.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. But with that, it comes a lot of weird things.
I'm sure.
Creaky house it's kind of falling apart. But we love it. And so we're just a small organization in the sense of like the staff that's doing it. And we're just everyday people, like the people we interact with. And I think when people do interact with us and they participate in our surveys and they meet other surveyors or they meet other fishermen that are part of like our Lionfish program in removing invasive lionfish, they learn that we're all just regular people who just care about the ocean. And in a sense, I feel like we're a more trustworthy source for people like fishermen. Our data isn't biased in any way. It's just people who are just out there and they're just like, oh, these are the fish that I saw. Then they just put it online for us. So, in a sense, we're hoping that will kind of aid fishermen in, getting more involved in conservation and looking at it from, we want to work together, not against each other.
Yeah.
And, hoping that we will be that trustworthy source of information, that we're not trying to skew the data or be biased in any way, because it's not coming from a small group of scientists. It's coming from hundreds of thousands of people all over the world that are just like them, so.
Sure.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does. I mean, who supplies most of your data? Is it divers, would you say?
I would say a majority of our surveys are from divers, but in recent years, especially after COVID, we've been trying to look at our audience and seeing how can we reach new audiences. So we've been really promoting snorkeling for programs, and I would say most of the education programs I lead are with snorkel groups now, which is really awesome to see that change.
Yeah.
So we are trying to reach more people that aren't divers, because then you're limiting people by money, by trying, capabilities. Not everybody can be a diver, but most people can snorkel once they get comfortable in the water. So, you can sit on a pool noodle, put your face in the water.
Sure.
I've seen plenty of people do it. And it's, it's fun to do those types of programs and get people experience in that, because then maybe they will start diving after that and get more data. But snorkeling data is just as good as dive data, and we're hoping to get more of that. But yeah, right now, most of our surveys are done by divers.
Gotcha. In front of me, I have the Flushmaster by Seamule. This little device simplifies the process for flushing your engines. All it takes is 3 easy steps. Plug the hose into the device, plug the hoses from the device into your motors, and press on. That's all it takes to preserve the longevity of your motors, ensuring 100% clean water is running through them. So if you want to preserve your motors, go to seamule.com and go pick up a Flushmaster. So do you guys collaborate with any other nonprofits or anybody else that does research this way?
Yeah, definitely. So we try to work with as many other organizations as possible. We're not, for example, we're not directly involved with policy or regulations and government agencies, but we try to work in collaboration with them in the sense that, hey, we have this data that you can use, try to promote that to them. For other nonprofits like us, we try to host events with them or host education programs with them. So for example, I'll have some groups come down and do programs with us, and I'll try to promote hey, let's do a day with Coral Restoration Foundation and go outplant coral. Let's take a break from what we're
That's awesome.
Work with them. And then they can go outplant the coral, and then the next day we'll go survey the nurseries with the fish surveys and see how that is affecting the abundance of fish and things like that. So, we try as much as possible to work with these other organizations, and we've had a lot of success in that. And I'm hoping that it keeps growing from there. And we can be an example to say, hey, it is good if we work together, and it does help all of us if we work together more.
Absolutely. So for those listening and that are interested in getting involved, say whether it's a fisherman or a diver, how can they help? How can they give you the data that they get? So if I'm out there fishing and I catch 20 mahi in a day.
Yeah. So for fishermen, we only survey live fish. So if you take the fish back to the dock and they're not in the water anymore, we can't really survey those. But, what I've done, so my fiance, his family are fishermen and stuff like that. And, if I've ever been on a boat where they're fishing, I'll go snorkel sometimes while they're fishing, and I'll survey on the fishing boat and stuff like that. But you have to be in the water to do the survey. But to get involved, basically anywhere there's salt water and you can get in the water and you can put your face in it, you can do a survey.
Okay.
We have survey paper to make it really easy for everybody. It's only 75 cents a sheet, and you can reuse it as many times as the paper will last. It's underwater paper, so it's pretty hardy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it has the list of all the most common fish in that area in alphabetical order. So I say, if you know the alphabet, you can find the fish.
Yeah.
So you just get the paper from us, either in our store in Key Largo or by ordering it online. You go survey in that area. You mark down the fish on it, and then you just put it on the website. It's pretty easy. You have big buttons that say submit data and walk you through the steps, and it's easy to find. We try to make it as accessible as possible because we want people to do this on their own.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it with us. You can do it by yourself.
What about catch and release fishermen? Or not so much? I mean, they're live fish still.
Yeah, they are technically still live fish. I'm not sure about that one. That's probably a gray area.
Yeah.
As far as I've been told from, the higher ups of our organization, you have to be in the water. Your fish have to be in the water.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I got it. Because I know a lot of guys inshore fish, you know, and they do a lot of catch and release. So for like tarpon, snook, redfish, and all that. But if you have to be in the water, all right, I guess it is what it is.
Fishermen are still a really valuable source of information because
Yeah.
you know they're still seeing the fish. Right?
Of course.
There is places you can report that, you know, like Florida Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah.
But you know, we use fishermen for our Lionfish program a lot. You know, especially
I was going to ask you about that.
fishermen. You know, they're catching them in their traps and stuff, or spear fishermen, they're catching them a lot. So we try to work with them in partnership to try and find these big populations of lionfish in the hopes that maybe we could turn that into a commercial fishery down here in South Florida.
Yeah.
With traps and stuff like that, which we just did a big research project on lionfish traps in the Keys.
How did that turn out?
Sometimes science isn't always successful. That's part of science.
Yeah.
We only caught, I think during the whole research, we caught like one lionfish in the trap, I think it was. But our thought is that, you know, maybe we're not catching as much here as they did in the North Gulf Coast of Florida because there's more structure for them here. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to congregate to the traps as much as they would here that they did over there because there's not as much structure.
Sand over there.
Yeah. So we're also doing a really good job at removing them regularly. So it's like weeding a garden. The more often you do it, the better your garden's going to be. You're going to see less signs of the weeds. There might always be weeds there, but you're not really going to see the effects of them. Yeah. You wait once a year to weed the garden, it's going to be probably dead by then. So we do a really good job here in South Florida and in the Keys of removing them regularly, either through us or just the public going out and removing them. You know, that could be adding to it as well. But it's a start, right? We're trying to start. The idea of the traps is that we can target deep water lionfish populations that we can't get to recreationally. Yeah. And then we can also give fishermen a way to, you know, make more money to supplement times where they're not catching as much as their regular catch. And, you know, they could catch lionfish instead because there's no season on them.
They're delicious.
Yeah, they're super delicious.
Yeah. So what else do you guys do with the lionfish? I know you were talking to me a little bit about it before the show that you yourself go out there and you go and spear a bunch of them. And do you guys have any derbies? Do you guys do anything in terms of keeping the population small? Yes,
definitely. We try as much as possible. And our lionfish program is the South Florida popular program. Everybody loves the lionfish program. You know, it's cool. It's like sexy conservation.
Yeah.
And lionfish themselves are really interesting fish. So it's really easy to promote that program because people are generally pretty interested in it. So Reef was kind of the start in the lionfish removal in South Florida. We started the derbies, and then after that, a lot of people started the derbies, which was great. Then the more people we have removing, the better, like I said earlier. So we do lionfish derbies. Right now, we're doing one consistently every year. It's a really big derby in the Keys. It's called the Florida Keys Lionfish Derby and Festival. It's we used to hold it in September every year, but hurricane season didn't like that very much. So we're trying to move it a little bit earlier. But basically, a derby is just usually 1 to 2 days of line fishing. And then they bring it back to a select area to have an event that the public can come to. We'll measure all of the lionfish. People will get prizes for most lionfish, biggest lionfish, and smallest lionfish caught. And the public can watch us score all those. We'll do fillet demonstrations. We'll cook them up on the spot. We'll have other vendors there educating people about conservation in the area. We'll have like artist booths there. People make lionfish jewelry, so we'll have some of those there. And games for the kids, raffles, live music, drink specials.
That's fun.
I love drink specials.
Yeah.
So the derbies are a big hit, and we're trying to focus on growing that one a lot, that we've kind of stepped back from doing derbies throughout South Florida, also because a lot of other people are doing derbies now too. So we do that, and we also do collecting and handling workshops, which is anybody who has a advanced dive certification and at least 30 log dives can participate. It's to teach you how to remove lionfish safely. So we'll have a morning class on lionfish, how to handle them, how to find them underwater, how to use a pole spear. We'll go out on a free afternoon dive, and then we'll spear lionfish with you. We'll show you how to fillet them afterwards. We'll do some dissections with them, that sort of stuff.
Wow.
So those are a lot of fun. Those
Yeah.
are one of my favorite.
I got to come out for one of those. That sounds fun.
Yeah. I'll send you an email on me.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a lot of fun. And then we'll do like jewelry making workshops with people who aren't divers, who don't go out and spear lionfish, but they still want to help with it. So I'm actually wearing some earrings right now. You just cut the fins off, you dry them, clean them, and then you put them in resin.
So that's lionfish? It's made out of lionfish? That's really cool.
Yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
So it's a lot of fun, and it's a way to engage people who aren't the regular spearfisher type, aren't going out and killing the lionfish and bringing them back.
Yeah.
So participate. And then lots of education programs. People love dissecting lionfish, especially kids.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They love gross dead bait. So it's really easy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've been out a lot doing these lionfish programs. Any interesting stories? What's the most amount of lionfish you've caught in a day, or what's the largest?
Well, me personally, probably not as much as a lot of other people, but, we'll probably pull, depending on the sites that we go to, if there's a lot of lionfish, we'll pull 20 to 30, maybe 40 on one site, which is pretty high for down here.
Yeah.
And, I know people, there's one team that participates in our derby every year that will go out for 2 days and catch like 500-600 fish in 2 days in the Keys, which again is a high number for down here because they're not as common as they used to be. Any crazy stories about line fishing? I would say actually just recently, I was in Curacao and there was a site that there was a lot of lionfish on. And we were doing fish surveys, but the dive masters asked me and another reef person if we wanted to spear on this site because there was going to be a lot of lionfish. We said, sure. Those lionfish were pretty smart though. They knew exactly what we were. They saw us coming with their spears and like ran into the reef.
Really?
But there was one pretty decent sized one that I was able to get a good shot at and I got him, but the hole that I speared him through was too small to pull him through. So I pulled him off my spear, he swam down, I went to go meet him on the other side, and then a green moray came out of nowhere and was like chasing him through the reef. And so in my sense, I'm like, I'm not going to get this fish probably, so I'll just try to help the green moray. So I'm trying to shove the lionfish to the green moray. He ended up catching it and spitting it out a couple of times, but it was crazy to see that right in front of my face.
Yeah.
The green moray chasing a lionfish.
Was it a big moray? It was
Huge. Yeah. He was probably like that thick around.
Whoa.
He was a chunky one, yeah. Lionfish before.
Yeah.
Exactly what we were doing. So
for those of you that don't know what this right here is a turtle box. A turtle box is a marine grade speaker. It's the best one on the market, y'all. If you guys want to go get one, check the link in the description. I always use it anytime I'm out there on the water, whether I'm at the beach, whether I'm fishing, wherever I am, this always comes with me. I love listening to the music, and the sound quality and audio is the best out there. Forget all the other brands. You need a turtle box.
So let's talk a little bit about lionfish, because I got a couple of questions. Yeah. So number one, they're edible, obviously.
Yes.
We all know that. When you get them, and I'm sure you do this in your workshops, best way to get them, chop off the what is it, the finlets or?
The spine.
Yeah.
So lionfish, a common misconception is that lionfish are poisonous. Most people don't know the difference between venom and poison. Do you know the difference between venom and poison?
You got me stumped. I know they're venomous, not poisonous, but what's the difference?
Yeah, so poisonous is you can't ingest it. You can't eat it. Like a poison dart frog or rat poison. If you eat it or ingest it anyway, you're going to get sick. Venom is if it's injected, like a snake bite, a bee sting, lionfish sting. So they have venomous spines. Their meat is safe to eat. They have 18 spines that are venomous. They have 13 on their dorsal side, on their top, and then some underneath too. So a lot of people do cut off the spines before they handle them. We don't, because it's faster if we don't, and we're trying to get it done. Especially if we're filleting like a couple thousand fish, we want to get it done pretty fast.
Yeah.
So we just like to teach safe handling in the sense that we teach you where the spines are. We teach you how to fillet them with the spines on. And the key to that is have a really long knife so we don't have to even get close. But, I've never been stung. So I would say our practices of just safe handling and knowing where the spines are working pretty well.
What if you do get stung? What do you do?
If I do get stung or if anybody gets stung, one thing that you definitely don't want to do is put cold on it. No ice.
Really?
Will preserve the venom.
That's the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to a lot of people's heads is cold, put ice on it. But ice will preserve the venom in your skin, and it might feel fine when you have the ice on. As soon as you take it off, it's going to hurt again. And it's going to prolong how long it hurts. So put heat on it. We actually sell heat packs. So you just pop this little button and it heats up and they're reusable. You just put them in a pot of boiling water to soften them again. And then you put the heat on it. You try to squeeze as much of the blood out in the area as possible because that'll help reduce the swelling and the pain. And then just keep an eye on it, basically. That's all you can.
That's it.
Really, yeah.
But it won't kill you.
No one's ever died from a lionfish sting. Everybody has different effects. So, everybody reacts differently to a bee sting. Yeah. It's still going to hurt, but some people are worse than others. So some people, let's say I got stung on my hand, maybe my hand might swell a little. Some people, their whole arm, the whole side of their face might swell up. But eventually it goes away. We suggest that if you do start seeing symptoms like that, where more than just the immediate area is affected, then you should probably go see a doctor just to be safe.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So on the reef, is it bad for other larger predators to eat the lionfish, like a grouper or, a snapper or something?
Yeah, so they do eat the lionfish. Now,
yeah, they do, right?
in their native range, they eat them a lot. And here in their invasive range, they're eaten by those predators too. They're still an unnatural prey to them. So it's kind of like a learning curve for a lot of the predators. Mm-hmm. And again, we want to emphasize that we want them to do it naturally. We don't want to be the ones feeding them because then it can get dangerous for us. I've seen it where the eels or the sharks are really aggressive towards divers or snorkelers with spears.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure if you're a spear fisherman, you see that too.
All the time.
A dead fish is a dead fish to them. They want it.
Yeah.
And lionfish are an easy thing for them to get off of the spear because we're right down there with them on the reef, especially like nurse sharks and stuff like that.
Is it bad for them?
No, it's probably uncomfortable if they get it wrong in their mouth. So most of the time when you see them eating lionfish naturally, they'll try to do them head first so all the spines lay down. If they get them sideways or something, they'll spit them out and re-swallow them. So if they're eating it off of your spear, it's going to be sideways. And they're trying to get it off as fast as possible and get away from you. So it might get stuck in their gills. It might get stuck out of their face. I've seen like an eel with spines out of its face. And while it's not going to kill them probably, it's going to impede them from maybe protecting themselves or hunting anymore after that.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So it could, down the line affect them more than it is right now. But the biggest thing is that it's, I would say you wouldn't train grizzly bears to take care of like a backyard squirrel problem. So why would you train a shark to take care of a lionfish problem?
Smart.
They're wild animals.
Yeah.
You can't train them. So they're going to associate you as a food source and not lionfish's prey if you're feeding them off your spear. So let them do it naturally. It happens naturally. But don't go feeding them off your spear because it's not good for anybody. Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you had one tip for all the fishermen and spear fishermen out there, what would it be after all your experience?
One tip?
Or a couple tips, whatever you prefer.
Anything in particular?
While we're fishing out there.
While you're fishing out there.
Yeah.
Be responsible.
Okay.
It's kind of like the fish that you're catching, recreational fishing, and even some commercial fishing, it's part of conservation. We can't have too many of one thing. And, it helps tourism. It creates this nice family activity too sometimes. But, we want to be respectful of the things that we're catching. I'm a fisherman, I'm a hunter, but I'm so respectful of the things that they're still living animals and stuff like that.
Of course. You have to be.
Yeah, so I guess just be respectful, be responsible, and, tell other people, this is why I'm doing it, and I still care about the ocean, but, I'm also trying to make a living, or I'm trying to eat, or trying to do this fun thing with my family.
Right.
I don't know.
No, that answers it. Yeah, be responsible. There's a lot of irresponsible fishermen and spear fishermen. A lot of waste.
I think spear fishermen, hunters, all that stuff, they get a bad rap because of those people. So the more that you can promote, like, hey, I am a responsible fisherman, that's, better on you.
That's number one in my opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One last question for you. Sharks.
Sharks.
What's your opinion? And do you think they're becoming a problem down here?
Sharks. Okay, so here's my thing on sharks, right? So as a conservationist, but also as somebody who, is friends with a lot of fishermen, who goes out and fishes myself, I can see both sides of it. I can, going back to hunting, my family does elk hunting and stuff, and they say the wolves.
That's badass.
Yeah. The wolves are a huge problem. The wolves are bad. The wolves are, they're destroying the elk population, which, to those people they are. But to conservationists, they're like, those wolves are supposed to be.
They just reintroduced a bunch to Colorado, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of people are upset about it. Conservationists are happy about it, but hunters are not happy about it. So it's things like that. And, sharks are the same thing. Yeah. How do you meet in the middle and make both sides happy? Sometimes it's really hard to do. For me personally, sharks are supposed to be there, right? I understand, though, that, if we have all these fish getting removed because of unsustainable practices, the sharks, you're going to see more of an effect on them when you're trying to catch fish.
Yeah.
Like that. Especially, like, when we go out line fishing again, the sharks are a problem for me. I don't like the sharks then. I like sharks every other time, but then I go out my line fish and they're stealing all my line fish.
Right.
But they're still supposed to be there. Right?
Yeah.
It is their home. They are just doing what they're meant to do. They're hunting and they're eating fish. Yeah. So I always try to remind people that, yes, they're definitely an annoyance to fishermen, but they're just doing what they know what to do.
We've kind of trained them over the years also too. I feel like
know what boats are. Like fishermen are. They know what spear fishermen are. The animals are smart. They learn pretty fast and they can evolve over time.
We've trained them, like you said, training a bear. We've trained the sharks with the boat noise and
we're like, oh, know what that? It's like a dinner bell for them. Yeah. And they're gonna get
it's instinctual.
The way they can. Yeah. So I understand both sides. I understand how they can be a nuisance and they can seem like there's too many of them, right? But if you're putting, blood and food and fish in the water, you're going to attract sharks.
If you were a shark, he would go.
Right? So while it may seem like there's a lot of sharks in the area, those are probably all the sharks in the area right there.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I never heard that take. That's a very interesting take.
Yeah. I have this friend that's a charter fisherman, and he said, there's plenty of sharks here. Every time I go to catch a shark, I catch sharks. I'm like, well, yeah, you're trying to catch the shark. Of course, if you put a dead fish in the water, you're going to catch a shark.
Yeah.
So, but that's all the sharks in the area. They're congregating to the area. It's called, there's a term for that in fishing. It's called hyperstability. The appearance that it's more stable than it actually is. So, for example, if you have an aggregation of like groupers that are spawning, you throw a net into the water, you catch 200 groupers. You're like, wow, this is a really healthy population. There must be hundreds of thousands of groupers. But really, there's only 200 groupers there. You just so happen to catch all of them. You're aggregating them.
Yeah.
So, that's a common thing, a common battle in fishery management is the population actually stable or is it just appearing stable?
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, this conversation's been really insightful. I really appreciate you coming. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, and I hope you have a safe drive back to Key Largo and those New Year's partiers don't get you too bad down there.
No, just take my time, nice and easy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, you guys got to go check out Reef. It's a great organization. You guys got to do your part. Put your face in the water, identify the fish, and go give them that data. All right, Madalyn, thank you.
Yeah, thank you too.
Later, guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Science of Fishing. We hope that this episode was helpful and you learned something for the next time you're wetting a line. Before we cast off, a special thanks to our sponsors, Bloody Battery, Sea Mule, and Black Reef Company. Stay hooked by following us on social media at Science of Fishing and hitting the subscribe button. And if you know someone who'd enjoy this, please share it with them. Until we meet again, catch 'em up.